Are Tesla vehicles really 10 times safer than the average car? Tesla seems to think so, and they've actually made claims towards this notion. Now, there's data proving them right. There's a reason they're posting this. They're not just pulling this out of thin air. On the other hand, I think there's a little bit of smoke and mirrors, and we're going to debunk this claim and explain why it's not necessarily true. So let's start with pro-Tesla. Let's start with, why this is correct. And just for some context, I am a Tesla owner. I've owned my Model 3 for 2.5 years, and I've driven it about 30,000 miles. I'm very familiar with the Tesla experience. I've been in a Cybertruck. I've driven a Y. I have not driven an X or an S, but I know that the Tesla experience is fairly ubiquitous, and when it comes to Autopilot, you're talking about the same thing. So let's talk about why this is correct. According to Tesla's Q1 2025 Vehicle Safety Report, their cars with Autopilot engaged have one crash for every 7.44 million miles. Now compare that to the US average, one crash for every 702,000 miles. This is according to the NHTSA. That's a huge gap. Tesla says their data comes from billions of miles driven, with over 9 billion on Autopilot. They're constantly updating their system with real-world data to make it safer. And they claim that features like automatic emergency braking and collision avoidance are saving lives. Even their non-autopilot cars crash less than the national safety average, with one crash in every 1.5 million miles. So they're saying, hey, look, it might not be 10 to 1, but it's 10 to 1 with Autopilot, and it's nearly half the crashes without Autopilot. Now, a lot of people on a lot of people on X, formerly known as Twitter, are absolutely eating this up. This is a polarizing thing. The Tesla fans love it. The Tesla haters say, there's more to the story. And the truth is, both sides are right. Tesla fans are saying this is proof that Tesla's tech is really light years ahead, reducing human error and making roads safer than ever. And with over-the-air updates, they also argue that Tesla can keep improving safety long after you buy the car. Sounds like the future, right? But let's hold on for just a second. Not everyone's buying this. The anti-Tesla crowd that I've been seeing also have some points, and I think that it's worth listening to. So just hear me out. Tesla's claim isn't exactly bulletproof. Autopilot is mostly used on highways, where crashes are already less common. Why is that? People are moving faster. You think there might be more crashes on the highway. It's absolutely not the case. There's fewer intersections, no pedestrians, predictable traffic. This NHTSA's 702-mile average for normal cars includes city streets where accidents happen more often than the highway. So is a Tesla really 10 times safer, or are they cherry-picking data from safer roads? There's a lot of critics who are saying Autopilot is not really a self-driving feature that's worth having. They point to federal court cases proving it's not built for complex collision avoidance. And there's an NHTSA bombshell, 467 Autopilot-related crashes since 2019, 13 fatal, many with serious injuries. I mean, that's not really a small number. That's a lot of bad accidents. Now let's talk about those crashes. The Washington Post reported on a deadly Autopilot crash that's part of a lawsuit against Tesla, raising questions about who's responsible when the tech fails, allegedly. The NHTSA says Autopilot has a critical safety gap because drivers can get too comfortable zoning out or even watching movies, which is absolute insanity. There was a case of a North Carolina doctor crashing into a police car while being distracted, and don't forget about the phantom braking, when Teslas suddenly stop for no reason. I've experienced phantom braking. It's not common, but it does happen, and this can cause rear-end collisions. In 2022, 750 owners reported this. A lot of X users were talking about horror stories like Model 3s flipping upside down in full self-driving mode, driver barely escaping, but Tesla's response, they blame the driver, saying Autopilot's Level 2 system requires constant supervision, and that is correct. So while we're listening to this, we need to have the context of Autopilot is something to have while you are driving. It is not supposed to be self-driving. Now, Tesla strives to be self-driving, and they have full self-driving, but this is specifically about Autopilot. So, naturally, I've got a counter-argument from the pro-Tesla crowd. They say that these crashes are outliers, dwarfed by millions of safe miles driven. Tesla's report claims that their cars, even without Autopilot, are nearly twice as safe as the US average. So again, This tweet saying 10 times, likely not the case, but there is an argument for twice as safety. There's features like radars, cameras. There's a lot of human errors that cause crashes, and Autopilot can a lot of the time mitigate some of these. There's child detection alerts, head-on collision avoidance that are cutting these errors down. A lot of Tesla fans point out that the crash rate has improved from time to time, from one crash to every 3.35 million on Autopilot miles to now 7.44. So there's progress. There's no doubt that it's getting better and better. Now, there's another counter-argument from the anti-Tesla side that really needs to be talked about. When you're comparing a Tesla to a normal car, it's not a fair argument. Professor that basically said Tesla's marketing gives drivers false confidence, leading to deadly mistakes. California DMV has sued Tesla for misleading claims about full self-driving. There's a whole lot of controversy towards it. So what is the truth? Is Autopilot a lifesaver or a liability? The numbers look impressive. 7.44 million miles per crash is hard to argue with, but the crashes, the lawsuits, the phantom braking, that's real too. There's a lot of polarizing arguments on this topic, and it's ultimately why I decided to make a video on it. If you're thinking about buying the Tesla, maybe don't swallow the 10 times safer line. Dig into the data, see for yourself. Ultimately, I think it is safer. Now, you can't compare a Tesla to a 1995 Honda Accord. You can't compare it to a 2006 Honda Accord. You can't compare it to a 2015 car. When you're comparing a new Tesla, you got to compare it to a new alternative car. And ultimately, I think Teslas are safer as long as you're paying attention. If it's going to give you false confidence, the data is a bit murky. But if you're paying attention, if your hands are on the wheel, if you're looking ahead, Autopilot is going to do nothing but help 99% of the time. So, in conclusion, Tesla, it's not really 10 times safer than a car. But I think it is maybe twice as safe. Could be even more. Could be less. I don't know. What do you think? Let me know down below in the comments. Thanks for watching.